Hello everyone. I hope this is visible. Okay. So am I audible? मेरे को वो नहीं दिख रहा. Okay, let's start. Today, our topics are first operators. Then second, we'll be focusing on conditional statements, in which you will study if-else statements. And then we'll move on to loops like for loop, while loop, and do while loop. And after that, we'll be focusing on functions. So let's start with operators. So there are multiple types of operators, and the two basic operators are bitwise and logical operators. Bitwise operators basically help you perform operations on bits, like at the very lower level. If you were active in yesterday's session, Adnan told you that C programming language is specifically also used in embedded systems. And that is where bitwise operators are really helpful because they perform bit, bit operations at the hardware level. I'll give you an example here. So we have a variable. I hope you know what variable is. Variable basically is a container in which you store a value. And we assign value of phi to variable A. In binary representation, phi is represented as 0101. Uh, I assume that you know binary operations. Okay, let me explain you this. But this is a binary representation of 50101. So this one is 2 power 1, 2 power 0. Then the second value here from the very right is 2 power 1. Then the third value from right is 2 power 2. And the fourth digit is 2 power 3. So when you calculate 2 power 1, 2 power 0, sorry, from the right very first digit, 2 power 0 is 1. And the second digit is 0. And 2 power 0 is 0. And then when you go to the third digit, 2 power 2, which is 4. And the fourth digit is 2 power 0 again. So when you calculate, uh, we get 1 from here and 4 from here. So this becomes 5. So this is basically the binary calculation of number 5. You don't need to get into so much of details for binary calculation because it's not very concentrated in your subject. There will be a very different subject named digital electronics, and you will get into that in that subject even more. So for now, this is the basic concept of binary calculation, because at the hardware level, the machine only understands zeros and ones. And when you compile, when this programming logic, it is at the end compiled to zeros and ones. So this is the basic representation of number 5. And same with the second variable, the 3 is represented as 0011. Okay. So coming to bitwise operators. Bitwise operators are actually 5. One is this and, sorry, one is and basically cal- uh, calculate the value in this way. If both the values are 1, it gives you 1. That's it. when you okay, let's uh, calculate with this example. In here, we are calculating a and b with the bitwise operator and as I said, it returns one if both the values are one. When you look at this two binary representation of 5 and 3, 1 1 gives you 1 in the result. I am calculating it column wise, so please be active on the screen. So this one from 5 at the very right side, and from 3 both are 1. So in result, the very right value will be 1. As AND operator returns 1 if both are ones. And when you move on to the next digit, one is 0 and the other one is 1. Both are not 1. So it returns 0. Then the third digit, one is 1 and the other is 0. So it returns 0 again. And the very last digit, both are 0. So it returns 0. Okay, let me take you through an example here. Okay, bitwise. When you run this program, so yeah, we are calculating 5 and 3 using AND operator, which is a bitwise operator. When you do AND of 5 and 3, you get this binary number, which is 0001. And in integer value, the value of 0001 is, this is how we use bitwise operator at the very lower level, I mean at the hardware level. So it's not just one bitwise operator. Again, the second bitwise operator we'll be talking about is OR operator. OR is represented as straight line. As you can see, between A and B, we have a straight line, and it represents OR operator. OR operator basically says that return 1 if one of the values is 1. So when you see here, we have 1 for yes. Oh, wait. Is it now? Okay, fine. So I'll start from OR operator as my screen was not visible. So yeah, uh, let's start with OR operator again. As you can see, OR operator is represented with a straight line between A and B. So we are performing OR operator on A and B. A is 5 and B is 3. A is represented, which is 5, as 0101, which is 5 in binary representation, and 0011 is 3 in binary representation. And how do we calculate A and B using OR operator? I'll explain you here. Okay. So OR operator says that return 1 if at all one of the values is 1. So if we see here and calculate the A and B in column wise, the right most digits is 1 and 1 for both the numbers. So it returns 1. And moving on to the next digit from right side, it one is 1 sorry, one is 0 and the other is 1. So one of the digits is 1, so it returns 1. Moving on to the next digit, the third digit, the upper one is 1 and the other one is 0, so it returns 1 because one of the digits is 1. And looking at the last digit, both are zeros, so it returns 1. So OR operator says that if one of the digits is 1, return 1. If not, then return 0. So let's run this program for OR operator. Yeah. So when you do OR operation on 5 and 3, you get 0, 1, 1, 1. That is integer value 7. So this is how you perform OR operations on two integer values. And the next operator we'll be talking about is XOR operator. XOR operator says that return 1 if both the bits are different. So again, I will explain you by calculating. Okay. As I said, XOR operator returns 1 if one of the if both the digits are different. Here we can see that the last digit of both the numbers is 1 and 1. So it returns 0. And moving on to the next digit, one is 0 and the other one is 1. So it returns 1 because both the digits are different. Moving on to the next digit, the upper one is 1 and the lower one is 0. So it returns 1 again because both the digits are different. And the last one, because both the digits are same, which is 0, it returns 0. And when you perform XOR operations on, sorry, and when you perform XOR operation on 5 and 3, you get the integer number 6, which is and whose binary representation is 0110. Moving on to the next. Okay, please let me know if you are being confused or have any doubts. कुछ समझने तो आ रहा ना, या फिर ऐसे ही बोल लेते जा रहा हूँ मैं. Uh, okay, let me look at the messages. We can't say okay. Okay, what does OR operator do? ठीक है. So OR operator basically helps you to perform so operations on integers at the very lower level, at the machine level. जब आप कोई भी वैल्यू को कन्वर्ट करते, you convert them into zeros and one at the machine level. तो जब you get the advantage of using or operator in C is आप lower level operations control कर सकते. Yesterday Adnan told you that C is also used in embedded system. Embedded systems में you need to control the hardware, like what switch to turn on, what switch to turn off, and when. And to control that, to control at very low level मतलब hardware को control करने के लिए you need bitwise operators. Bitwise operators allow you to control the hardware operations. एंड बिटवाइज ऑपरेटर्स का फिर से एक बार कैलकुलेशन मैं वो करता हूँ. बिटवाइज ऑपरेटर returns 1 if any of the value is 1 and returns 0 if any of the values is not 1, means both are zeros. So screen visible है ना. So for this is 5, this is 3, and this is the binary representation of 5 and 3. ठीक है. फर्स्ट डिजिट को देखेंगे अपन. Both are 1. As I said, OR operator returns 1 if any of the value is 1. So both are ones, so it returns 1. Coming to the next digit, ऊपर 0 है, यहाँ पर नीचे 1 है. मतलब एक तो 1 है उसमें, तो it returns 1. Coming to the third digit, एक 1 है, उसके बाद एक 0 है. मतलब एक तो डिजिट उसमें 1 है. It returns 1. फिर उसके बाद नेक्स्ट डिजिट को देखेंगे, वेरी digit, both are zeros, so it returns 0. And the integer value of that representation, that binary representation, is 7. It's not mathematical operation. Plus minus multiplication division नहीं है ये. This is just used to uh, calculate and perform operations at the hardware level. Any more questions? I'll just wait for 30 seconds to see if there are any questions. Okay, let's move on to another type of operators, which is logical operators, and I'll explain you logical operators with क्या बोलते, with if else statement, so that it will be very clear for you to understand. Okay, logical operators are used in conditions. For example, and so I'll just tell you what are the types of logical operators. First is and operator, second one is or operator, third one is not operator. And operator says that both the conditions has to be true, then only it will execute the function block of code. एक if else statement के साथ ही समझाए तो it will be very clear. Okay, So, okay, my let's understand and operator, logical and operator. I'm talking about logical and operator. So as I said, l- when you use and operator, logical and operator, both the conditions has to be true. And as you can see, I have set the condition for age to be 19 and 18 at the same time. And if I run this program, sorry, okay, as you can see, if I run this program, there is no output because age can't be 19 and 18 at the same time. So and operator says that both the conditions has to be true. You can also see that we have another variable score, and let's also set score in the condition. Now this condition says that if age is 18 and also score is 75, execute this block of code. And when I run this program, you can see that we get an output of you are an adult. It just prints you are an adult because this says that both the condition which are set has to be true. And coming to the next logical operator, which is or operator. Or operator is represented in two straight lines. This says that one of the condition has to be true. So let's execute this program. It prints out the statement you are an adult because both the statements are true as of now. And if we make this as 70, now one of the condition is false. Will this be executed and will this line be printed? Yes, because one of the condition has to be true. Score is not true. Score is not equals to 75. It is equal to 70. But the age is equals to 18. That's the reason it prints out this line of statement. Coming to the next example, uh, not operator. Okay, let me just get if there are any questions. Are there any questions for and or logical operators? Okay, this was the second type of logical operator. Then we have another type of logical operator, which is not. Not is represented as exclamation mark. This says that if the it just inverts the condition. Before we were checking if the age is equals to 18, then print out this statement. But now we are checking that age is not equal to 18. That means that if age is 18, this statement won't be printed. And if age is some other value, 100, 200, 10, it will print out this statement. So let's test this. Now age is equals to 18. So will this print statement be executed? No, because age is 18. For this print statement to be executed, this value has to be not 18. कुछ भी कल असाइन कर सकते हैं इसको. For example, we'll just assign it 19 and let's check if the print statement is executed. Yes, it does. क्योंकि age is not 18. So we learned logical operators में क्या क्या. एक तो and and says that both the conditions has to be true. Here, both the conditions are true. Age is 18 and score is 75. When I execute this, the print statement will be executed. And then we have OR operator. OR operator says that one of the condition has to be true. Now we have 18 true, 75 is also true. Let's just make one of the conditions false, which is, let's assign this 70. Now one of the condition is false and the other one is true. And OR statements or operator says that one of the condition has to be true. So if we execute, this will be executed because one of the condition is true, which is age is equal to 18. And then we have not operator that says that this it just inverts the condition. The age should be anything but not 18. So if we just assign this even 0, then this print statement will be executed because age is not 18. uh, Let me just take some questions on this if you have any. And just to let you know, bitwise operators और logical operators में क्या difference रहता? Bitwise operators, as I said, operates on bits, zeros and ones, and it outputs integers. जैसे अपन देखे थे, उन्हें एक बाइनरी रिप्रेजेंटेशन आउटपुट में दे रहा था, उसका बाइनरी रिप्रेजेंटेशन इंटीजर्स तो रह रहे थे 7, 6, 5 ऐसा. So it returns integers and performs on bits, zeros and ones. उसके बाद लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर्स कैसा डिफरेंशिएट करते हैं अपने आप को? दे आर यूज्ड इन कंडीशंस. दे आर यूज्ड इन कंडीशंस. ऐसा कंडीशन डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए यूज होते. एज इज नॉट 18, एज इज 18 और स्कोर इज 70. कंडीशंस में यूज होते बेसिकली लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर्स with expressions and returns true or false. Is this condition true or false? Obviously, this is true. Age is not 18. So it returns true and this print statement will be executed. Shall I move on to the next topic? Can we put greater or less than while using equal to like? Oh, that's a good condition. Let me just use it. Uh, you can do this. You okay? You wanna check? You can do this. If both the condition has to be true, you are saying that uh, it should not be 18 and it should not be less than greater than 18, greater than or equals to 18. So these are two different conditions. So you can use and operator to make sure both the conditions are true. Okay, I'll just uh, it has to be greater than equals to 18. Was this the condition? uh, Let me just write it down. It should not be greater or equals to. Yes, if you want both, you have two conditions there. One is not, and the other one is greater than equals to. So you can just use and operator so that both the conditions are true. Let me just check and execute this for you. Okay. So we are checking age is not equals to 18. We are only saying that you are an adult when you are above 19. That means you should not be equals to 18, and you should be greater than 18. So when you execute this, the print statement will be executed. Okay. Any more questions with logical operators? Just give me a thumbs up if you want me to move with the next topic. Okay. What's the next topic? If else. So I think you should be like you should be familiar with if by now. I'll just take you through if else statements. So if else statements are conditional statements that used to control your flow of program using conditions. So we are checking if this condition is true, then print this. Else if this is true, print this. If both are not true, just print this. At first, it checks if the temperature is greater than 30. If it is, then it prints hot. Then, if the temperature is not greater than 30, it just skips this part and comes down to the next control statement, which is else if. Else if temperature is greater than 20. If it was 25, this condition won't be true, and this condition would be true because 25 is greater than 20. And if it is 25, then it will print warm. And if the temperature was like it if the temperature was 19, it wasn't greater than 20, it wasn't greater than 30, at last it will be printed as cold because both the conditions above were not true. The third condition will be printed no matter what was the value, because else statements is executed whenever the conditions above described are not true. अगर कोई यहाँ पे से true हो गया तो it prints this. For example, if it was 35 and it the condition was true, hot will be printed, and it just skips everything below it. And if the temperature was 25, it skips the first one, comes down to the second one, prints warm, and skips the code below it. The rest of the code will be skipped if one of the condition is true. Then if any of the conditions are not true, then the last else statement will be executed, which is cold. That says that any temperature below 20 is cold. Again, we'll go through an example. अपना पहले वाला एग्जांपल ही उससे समझेंगे अपन. We are checking if score is greater than equals to 60. If it is, then just print out score is greater than equals to 60. Pass. इतना ही print करो. Okay, let me just remove this. We'll just print out pass and fail. So here we are checking in the first statement if the score is greater than equals to 60. And if it is, then just print pass and skip the code below it. And when I just run this program, you see because the score is actually greater than 60, it will print pass. What if I just make it lower than 60, let's say 50? What do you think will happen? It will print fail, because if the conditions if any of the condition is not true, it just prints the else statement. Anything which is described in the else block will be executed if any of the condition is not true. Are we clear with if else, sorry? Okay, I'll just repeat if else again. No worries. So if else statement is a control statement that helps you to control the flow of program, the control flow. It the control from the start, it gets into it gets into the main function. It checks the variable. It checks in score is equals to 50. Then it goes to if statement and checks the condition. Is score greater than equals to 60? If it is, if the condition is true, it prints out whatever is in the if statement. If the print if the condition is not true, it just prints anything, it just executes anything which is described in the else statement. For now, we have a print statement in else which will be executed. And if because the score is 50 and the condition is not true, that is score has to be greater than equal to 60, the condition is not true, the else statement will be executed. If I make this condition true, if I make the score 60, because now the condition is true, score is actually equal to 60, the code in if block will be executed, which is print pass. Was it clear now? Okay. Okay, let's move on to another version of if else statement. So if we have multiple conditions, we'll use multiple if statements and else if statements, as I described in the presentation. If we have multiple conditions, if we want in our example we want to score uh, grades based on how many marks they get. If it's 90, we'll grade them A. If it's 80 or greater, yeah, if it's 80, we'll grade them B. If it's 70, we'll grade them C. If it's 60 and above, we'll grade them D. If it's lower than 60, we'll grade them F. So for now, we the score is 70. So let's just execute this program and check. As let me walk you through this so you understand it better. First, it checks if the score is greater than equals to 90. Our score is 70. The condition is false. It goes to the next line, which is else if the score is greater than equals to 80. No, it's not. It's 70. Then it jumps on to the next one, which checks that if score is equals to or greater than 70, then it prints out the statement. Because our statement is true here, it is 70, so it prints out grade C. Let me print out the last statement. We'll just assign it 0. Score is 0. Because none of the conditions were true, score was not greater than equals to 90, was not greater than equals to 80, 70, 60. It was no conditions were true. So it just prints out the very last statement, which is else. मतलब इन्हें क्या बोल रहा कि कोई भी अगर कंडीशन ट्रू नहीं है तो ये कर दो, एटलीस्ट ये तो भी कर रहे भाई बोल के. तो it prints out the very last statement if none of the conditions are true. if else ladder bolte basically इसको. If you get this word in your questions to implement if else ladder, you can क्या बोलते write this program to implement if else ladder. This basically means you are just uh, stacking up if else statement and checking more and more conditions. Another better version of this if else ladder is switch statement. We'll look into that in a minute. And before that, I want to explain you about nested if. Nested if else देखेंगे अपन अब. ओके, पहले if else ladder का क्लियर है क्या देखेंगे पहले. आर वी क्लियर विथ if else ladder? I'll just wait for 30 seconds to check if there are any questions for if else ladder. Okay, another version of if else statement is nested if else. So uh, this basically allow you to nest more if else statement within one or more if else statement. So I'll just walk you through an example so that you understand it better. So we have a number, we have a variable number 15. First, it checks if the number is zero, if number is greater than 0. This program basically help you to print if a number is even or odd. So let's check that. At first, it checks if the number is greater than 0. If it is, then print positive. It first prints positive. That's it. At first, we are checking if the number is positive or not. If it's greater than 0, it's positive. And if the number like directly jumping on to the next one, if it's negative, let's say if it's minus 15, this condition won't be true. And jumping on to the next condition, which is if number is less than 0, then this condition will be true because minus 15 is less than 0. This print statement will be executed. And if I run this program, it it does print that minus 15 is negative. And how to check if a number is even or odd? Let me just remove the negative symbol and uh, assume that that the number is positive now. Now the number is greater than 0 now. It gets into this if else if statement. this condition is true now. The first if condition is true, it prints out this statement that the number is positive, and then within if statement, if the number is positive, after getting into the if block, it checks if the number is divisible by 2. If the number is divisible by 2 and gives out the reminder 0, then it prints that the number is even. And if the number is not divisible by 0, then it prints out odd. So let me just run this program. It says at first we check that 15, if 15 is greater than 0 or not. If it was, and in our case it is, it prints out that the number is positive. This is done. Then within that if statement, it checks to see if the number is even or odd. And to check that, we have another if else within this. ये फर्स्ट वाला if else ब्लॉक हो गया. यहाँ से यहाँ तक this is the first if block, and within if block we have this code, and within this code first it prints that it is positive. वो condition true हो गई. Then वो condition true हुए बाद, positive है मालूम हुए बाद, we are checking if the number is divisible by 2 and gives out the remainder 0 or not. If it gives out the remainder 0, if by dividing by 2, it's even. And if it does not gives out 0, then it's odd. And in our case, because dividing 15 by 2 does not give the remainder 0, it actually gives the remainder 1, then the number is odd. And it does print that first the 15 is positive in the output, and then it prints that it's odd. यहाँ पर अपन percentage. Okay, so हाँ, 15 is positive and 15 is odd. What if it's 0? ये condition भी true नहीं होती. 0 is not greater than 0. ये condition भी true नहीं होती. 0 is not less than 0. As I said before कि अगर कोई भी condition true नहीं है, तो लास्ट वाला जो else है, कुछ तो भी प्रिंट, कुछ तो भी एग्जीक्यूट कर दे रहे भाई बोल के. That block of code is written in else statement. So if both the conditions are not true now, it does print that number is 0, which is described in the else block. Do we have any questions for nested if else? After if, is it mandatory to write else? No, it's not mandatory. It's just that you can catch any issues if there are any. Like you can just print that the number is not valid. You actually see कि कहाँ पर issue आ रहा. If you just remove this, it prints out nothing. कुछ भी print ना होता. अगर else डाले तो आखिर में कोई भी अगर condition true नहीं रही, तो it prints out the last वाला statement, which is else statement. Else statement is basically a default statement. कुछ भी true नहीं रहा तो ये default execute हो जाता. If any of the conditions it's true, then it does not execute the code defined in else statement. Any more? No. Uh, they both are different. Else if allows you to check another condition. Else if this is मतलब अगर ये सही ना रहा तो check this. It's like अगर ये true नहीं है तो check this. अगर वो true नहीं है तो check this. तो multiple क्या बोलते हैं steps में you are checking multiple conditions. For example, uh, if you wanna check कि आज कौन सा डे है, मंडे, ट्यूसडे, वेनेसडे, थर्सडे, फ्राइडे, सैटरडे. सो पहले आप यू चेक कि इफ द डे इज संडे. ओके, लेट मी जस्ट क्या बोलते हैं, सी एच डे. Let me just take you through another example so that you may understand it better. Okay, so अपन यहाँ पर चेक कर रहे. Let me just correct this. Tuesday. So here we are checking if the character variable is m. If it's m, then print out that it's Monday. If it's t, else if, then check the condition. If the character is t, then if it is, then prints out Tuesday. Then check another condition. If these are not true, check another condition कि वो character w है या नहीं. If it is, then prints out Wednesday. वो भी ट्रू नहीं है, then check another condition कि वो h है. तो अगर h है तो prints out Thursday. अगर इसमें से कोई भी ट्रू नहीं है, फिर अगेन चेक द कंडीशन. इफ else if day is f, then prints out Friday. अगर कोई भी तो स्टेटमेंट कोई भी कंडीशन ट्रू नहीं है, देन एट लास्ट जस्ट प्रिंट दैट इट्स अ वीकडे, सॉरी वीकेंड. ओके, लेट्स चेक. आई असाइन द कैरेक्टर एज एस. तो इसमें से कोई भी कंडीशन ट्रू नहीं होती, इट विल जस्ट प्रिंट दैट. अगर मैं assign it as h, then it will print out that it's Thursday. It first checks this if day is m, then check if else if the day is t, else if the day is w, else if the day is h. Here the condition will be true and this will be executed, and anything below it will be disregarded. वो execute ना होते. uh, खाली ये statement print करके part of this the control will execute the program. That's it. Good with if else statement. uh, any more questions? to make it switch statement avoid it's क्या बोलते हैं implementing multiple if else statement वो ladder बोला if else ladder बोला था ना मैं to avoid that if else ladder we use switch statement क्या करता है basically यहाँ पर एक वेरिएबल ले रहे हैं अपन 3 and we are checking this variable against the cases we have multiple cases यहाँ पर switch statement अपन define कर रहे हैं ये पूरा block switch statement का है we are passing the variable day to our switch statement which is 3 and this value will be checked against all the cases case 1 case 2 case 3 case 4 case 5 case 6 case 7 and if the value equals to the case then it prints out that statement for now it goes and checks the value against this case the case is 1 and our value is 3 no they are not equal so it skips this goes to the next one case 2 again the value is not equal to case skips this block then it goes on to the next one check if the case is equals to the value now we have 3 case 3 equals to the value 3 and it does print out Wednesday. Let me check थोड़ा टाइम हो रहा एग्जीक्यूट होने okay yeah it does print out Wednesday and what if we assign a random value like जो switch statement में है ही नहीं what will happen it says invalid day जो default में described रहता जैसा if else में else statement था to execute anything if nothing is true यहाँ पर भी we have something called default मतलब जो अगर कुछ भी यहाँ पर ट्रू नहीं है कुछ भी केस मैच नहीं हो रहा वैल्यू से कोई भी केस वैल्यू से मैच नहीं हो रहा तो वी प्रिंट आउट एनीथिंग which is described in default we execute the code within default so with implementing switch statement we avoid having if else ladder that's the whole concept of switch statement uh, any questions related to switch statement okay I'll also explain you what is break here break basically says that if if the control enters this यहाँ पर अगर यहाँ पर wait 3 था ना पहले when the control enters this checks against the case the value is equals to 3 it prints out Wednesday उसके बाद uh, उसके बाद to make it break the statement to make the control come out of the switch statement and do not print anything after it we set break क्या करता break basically helps you to just jump out of the क्या बोलते हैं ये code उसके बाद कुछ भी execute नहीं होता I'll show you with an example for example my second यहाँ पे fourth वाला भी wait यहाँ पर फोर्थ वाला भी अगर मैं 3 करा wait error sorry just a minute okay यहाँ पर if I remove the break if we use break उन्हें क्या करता है ये प्रिंट कर लेके सीधा प्रोग्राम मतलब एग्जिट कर देता But if I remove break, it will also print the next thing. उन्हें यहाँ पर भी अ, मतलब एग्जिट एग्जिट नहीं करता डायरेक्टली आफ्टर प्रिंटिंग वेनेसडे it gets into another case and also execute that code. So if you use break there, instead of going down after if any of the condition is true, it actually exits the program directly. यहाँ पर ये पूरा loop exit कर देता उन्हें. Can we have CSE 3 twice? I think we can't क्योंकि वो compiler support नहीं करता. If I use 3 double, uh, we'll get an error. Case label value has already appeared in this switch at line 17. So we won't be able to क्या बोलते describe two same cases. मतलब उसका मतलब ही नहीं पता two same cases को why would you want to have different block of codes to be executed. तो compiler support नहीं करता will get an error. Let me show you. अगर मैं इसको execute करा will get an error. Okay, we get an error but it does run. वो या वो ये कंपाइल टाइम एरर है. VS को ये VS कोड एडिटर डज नॉट अलाउ यू लाइक इन्हें हेल्प करता कि यू डू नॉट मेक एरर्स but it does run at the runtime. Okay, I'll show you with yeah errors आते but execute हो रहा maybe because वो पहले से compiled है. Yeah, उसका मतलब नहीं रहता मगर if like दो सेम केसेस के लिए why would you want to implement two different codes? Yeah. उसके बाद we have I think are there any questions related to switch statement? Nope. Okay, I'll move on to the next topic. What's the next topic? Switch statement हो गया. Okay, now iterative control statements. Again and again and again and again. जब तक आप करना चाह रहे you can execute a block of code multiple times. जितने बार आप describe करें उतने for loop basically helps you to print like not just print, execute a block of code multiple times until the condition you described in for loop is true. So for loop का syntax ऐसा रहता. First, you initialize a variable with whatever value you wanna initialize it with. Let's okay, it's one for now. We have a variable I which is initialized with 1. Now, the second thing is condition. we have a semicolon in between, and after that we have a condition. कंडीशन क्यों रखते? जब तक एग्जीक्यूट होते रहता अगेन एंड अगेन मल्टीपल टाइम. डू वी हैव क्या बोलते क्वेश्चन? ओके, नो क्वेश्चंस. या, as I was saying, for loop is used to execute a block of code. In our case, it's just a simple print statement multiple times. पहले syntax कैसा है इसका? We initialize a variable. Variable क्यों initialize कर रहे? To track the number of iteration. फर्स्ट इटरेशन, सेकंड इटरेशन, थर्ड, फोर्थ, ऐसा ये ट्रैक करने के लिए कौन से इटरेशन में है, वो इटरेशन को ट्रैक करने के लिए वी इनिशियलाइज वेरिएबल आई, जो अपन हर इटरेशन के बाद इंक्रीमेंट करते. इंक्रीमेंट बेसिकली मींस +1. This plus plus what it does is it's an incremental operator which basically increments any variable, any integer or a number variable with 1. उन्हें +1 करता खाली. I plus plus basically means +1. I plus 1. So यहाँ पर I is initialized with 1, and if we do I plus plus, it adds 1 to whatever value is I. For now it's 1. Plus plus means 1 plus 1. 2 हो जाता. Now the I value of I is 2. उसके बाद फिर से अपन I plus plus करें तो it becomes 3 because plus अपन +1 ऐड कर रहे. I plus plus. फिर नेक्स्ट इटरेशन में अगेन I plus plus, 3 plus 1 4, फिर 4 plus 1 5. ऐसी इंक्रीमेंट करते रहता उन्हें I की वैल्यू को. Then we are also checking a condition until I is less than or equals to 1. हर लूप में इन्हें इंक्रीमेंट कर रहा +1 +1 +1. जब I 5 रहता, that will be the last time it will execute this code. उसके बाद I +1 करे तो 6 हो जाता. Then the condition will be false because I will be 6 then. तो ये condition false हो जाती because I won't be less than or equals to 5. Then it will break out of this loop. For loop break हो जाता. मैं एग्जीक्यूट करके बतलाता हूँ. सो फर्स्ट में क्या होता? I is initialized with 1. It checks if I is less than or equals to 1. Yes, for now it is 1. Then it increments I plus 1 कर देता उन्हें. Now I will become 2. अभी तो उन्हें प्रिंट कर देता, लूप के अंदर प्रिंट चल जाता, बट उन्हें फिर से आके देखता, कंडीशन चेक करता कि I is less than or equals to 5. Now I is equals to 2. That's the reason the code will be again executed. But second iteration में क्या होता? फिर से I plus plus हो जाता. Now I is 3. फिर I 3 हुए बाद फिर से लूप रन होता. उन्हें चेक करता कंडीशन is I less than or equals to 5. फिर से कंडीशन 2 है, इसलिए फिर से ये कोड एग्जीक्यूट होता एंड ये इंक्रीमेंट होके 4 हो जाता. नाउ I is 4. फिर से एग्जीक्यूट होता, फिर से इंक्रीमेंट होता. नाउ I is 5. फिर से इंक्रीमेंट होता, फिर से एग्जीक्यूट होता. बट नाउ आफ्टर इंक्रीमेंटेशन I is 6. 6 रहे बाद द कंडीशन विल बी फॉल्स. I is no more less than equals to 5. It's actually 6. तो उन्हें क्या करता? ये लूप फॉर लूप एग्जिट हो जाता. So that's the reason we only see this block of code to be executed 5 times. I is equals to 1. फर्स्ट इटरेशन में I 1 था, उन्हें बेसिकली I की वैल्यू हर टाइम प्रिंट कर रहा. फर्स्ट इटरेशन में I 1 था, सेकंड इटरेशन में इंक्रीमेंट हो गया 2 था, फिर इंक्रीमेंट हो गया 3 था, इंक्रीमेंट हो गया 4 था, फिर इंक्रीमेंट हो गया 5 था, फिर इंक्रीमेंट हुआ, बट द कंडीशन वाजंट ट्रू. It was actually 6. That's the reason it exited the for loop and just printed these things. For loop थोड़ा बहुत समझ में आया? Yes, understood. कैन आई हैव मोर इनपुट्स, लाइक खाली एक दो को नहीं, पूरे है जिसको पूरे सबको समझने आना. यस. ओके. और आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू ब्रेक. ब्रेक कैसा यूज होता है अगेन विथ फॉर लूप, ठीक है. इफ इसमें एग्जांपल और इफ भी ऐड करेंगे अपन. इफ आई इज इक्वल्स टू 5. ओके. सो यहाँ पर क्या होता, ब्रेक स्टेटमेंट एज ए सेड कि अगर ब्रेक स्टेटमेंट हिट हुआ तो उन्हें पूरे का पूरा लूप ही एग्जिट कर देता. यहाँ पर पहले अपन एक कंडीशन चेक करें कि आई इज इक्वल्स 3 विद इन फॉर लूप. इन्हें क्या मैं पहले एग्जीक्यूट कर दो फिर उसके बाद समझा तो अच्छा. ओके. सो फॉर लूप में एंटर हुआ ने, फर्स्ट टाइम प्रिंट करा, चेक करा कि आई इज इक्वल टू 3, नहीं 1 ही है अभी. फिर सेकंड टाइम आई इज इक्वल टू 2, फिर से प्रिंट करा, फिर चेक करा आई इज इक्वल टू 3, नहीं आई इज इक्वल टू 2. उसके बाद थर्ड लूप में आई इज इक्वल टू 3 प्रिंट कराइए. देन इट चेक कि आई इज इक्वल टू 3 एंड इट प्रिंट्स आउट द स्टेटमेंट बिकॉज इट्स ट्रू. ये कंडीशन ट्रू हो गई अब. उसके बाद उन्हें इसके अंदर का स्टेटमेंट प्रिंट करा. देन इट हिट्स ब्रेक. ब्रेक क्या करता, पूरे फॉर लूप को ही एग्जिट कर देता. यहाँ पर कंडीशन तो ट्रू है. अभी क्या बोलते, इंक्रीमेंट हो गए 4 ही हुआ आई. बट यहाँ पर ब्रेक स्टेटमेंट हिट हुआ बोल के उन्हें पूरा फॉर लूप ही एग्जिट कर दिया. दैट्स द रीजन इट ओनली प्रिंट टिल 3 तक ही प्रिंट करा उन्हें. उसके बाद ये स्टेटमेंट प्रिंट हुआ जो इफ में स्टेटमेंट था. इफ आई जस्ट रिमूव दिस एंड प्रिंट्स, उन्हें 3 तक ही प्रिंट करा. क्योंकि जब आई इज इक्वल टू 3 आई एम मेकिंग इट हिट ब्रेक. ब्रेक हिट हुआ तो इट विल एग्जिट द होल फॉर लूप. लेट मी ऑल्सो एक्सप्लेन यू कंटिन्यू. कंटिन्यू क्या रहता, ब्रेक के ही रहता बट विद अ स्लाइट डिफरेंस. कंटिन्यू क्या करता, उन्हें सिर्फ एक पर्टिकुलर इटरेशन स्किप करता. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पर कंडीशन क्या है, आई इज इक्वल टू 3. अगर आई 3 रहा तो इट विल जस्ट स्किप दिस पर्टिकुलर इटरेशन. उसके बाद उन्हें लूप नॉर्मली कंटिन्यू करता. एग्जीक्यूट. यहाँ पर चेक करें तो अपन आउटपुट में 1 2 4 5 प्रिंट हो रहा मगर 3 प्रिंट नहीं हो रहा. क्यों, जब 3 था आई वॉज 3 it entered this for loop, check the condition is in if it was 3 and the condition was true in that case, तो कंटिन्यू हिट हुआ. कंटिन्यू हिट हुआ तो ये जो भी नीचे डिस्क्राइब रहता कोड, जो भी कोड नीचे रहता कंटिन्यू के, वो पूरा स्किप हो जाता. इट देन रिपीट्स अगेन, दूसरे इटरेशन में चल जाता उन्हें. वो जो करंट इटरेशन है, करंट लूप है, करंट इटरेशन जो भी है साइकिल, वो स्किप हो जाता. देन इट मूव्स ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट इटरेशन, नेक्स्ट साइकिल पे मूव ऑन हो जाता. दैट्स द रीजन जब आई 3 रह रहा उन्हें कंटिन्यू बोलते कि वो वाला साइकिल स्किप हो जा रहा एंड इट डज नॉट प्रिंट 3 एंड आई इंक्रीमेंट होके 4 हो जा रहा. देन 4 इज नॉट इक्वल टू 3, देन इट प्रिंट्स दिस. अगर मैं यहाँ पर 5 डाला, 5 प्रिंट नहीं होता. क्योंकि जब 5 आई इज इक्वल टू, जब 5 रहता आई, then it will hit continue and skip that cycle. And yeah, we have any questions related to continue and break? Was continue and break concepts clear? समझ में आया? फिर से एक्सप्लेन करूं? Okay. What do we have next? While loop. Okay. While loop का concept similar रहता, that it prints, sorry, it executes a block of code again and again. कहाँ गया while? Okay. While loop. Okay. While loop का concept almost similar रहता. So इसमें भी syntax कैसा रहता है इसका? It checks the condition first. Reject. It checks the condition first. Now we have I is equals to 1 and the condition is true here. क्योंकि I is less than equals to 5, it just prints out I and increments. It basically concept, मतलब वो क्या, वो iteration का concept same है, but यहाँ पर अपन syntax थोड़ा different रहता and it is used in some different level of logic. थोड़ा अच्छा example some कहाँ पर है? Wait just a minute. Okay, I'll explain you with Boolean. Just a minute. Identify Boolean is unidentified. Hint. Okay, Boolean supported नहीं दिख रहा VS Code में. Let me just uh, take you through the while loop again. So basically concept same ही है. यहाँ पर condition check करता while this condition is true, execute this loop. उसके बाद we have do while loop, which is another version of while loop. प्रोसेस एंड देन मतलब उन्हें टाइम तो कैसा भी एग्जीक्यूट होता ही इन्हें आउट देन आफ्टर फर्स्ट टाइम इट इज एग्जीक्यूटेड बाद नेक्स्ट इटरेशंस में ओके मेरा नेटवर्क स्लो है शायद थोड़ा नेटवर्क का इशू आ रहा अभी 2 मिनट्स आई मैं क्लियर नाउ लाइक लैग तो नहीं हो रहा ना अभी मतलब कैन आई मूव अहेड और अभी जाके ओके डन नेटवर्क ठीक हो गया जैसा है तो डू वाइल द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डू वाइल इज सिमिलर टू वाइल लूप इसमें द ओनली difference is it first executes whatever block of code is described then the condition for the next iteration for example if we are checking the condition if I is equals to 0 ठीक है then only print this block of code but because we are using do while loop उन्हें पहले एग्जीक्यूट करता फिर चेक करता कंडीशन फॉर द नेक्स्ट इटरेशन बिकॉज आई पहले उन्हें एग्जीक्यूट कर रहा था पहले चेक नहीं करा कंडीशन इट प्रिंटेड कि आई इज इक्वल्स टू 1 उन्हें फिर चेक करा कंडीशन कि आई 0 है तो ब्रेक हो गया बिकॉज द कंडीशन इज नॉट ट्रू और एक एग्जांपल लेंगे शुड बी greater than equals to 0 and -1 greater than 0 sorry so we are checking कि पहले 5 से लेंगे 5 we are checking if I is greater than 0 or not ठीक है अब यहाँ पर क्या होता मैडम ये इन्फिनिट लूप चलता क्योंकि 5 है एंड इट कीप्स इंक्रीमेंटिंग और लूप चलते रहता until I is greater than 0 आई की मतलब ये कंडीशन कभी फॉल्स हो ही नहीं सकती क्योंकि 5 इंक्रीमेंट होते जा रहा डिक्रीमेंट नहीं हो रहा एज यू कैन सी कि उन्हें इन्फिनिटली लूप इटरेट होते जा रहा द कंडीशन इज नॉट फॉल्स कभी फॉल्स ही नहीं हो सकती क्योंकि 5 इज ऑलवेज एंड एनीथिंग अबव 5 इज ऑलवेज ग्रेटर देन 0 जब मैं कंप्यूटर क्रैश हो जाता उसके बाद इफ आई डू दिस इफ आई डिक्रीमेंट इट उन्हें क्या बोलते सो 0 पे जाके रुक जाता इफ आई डिक्रीमेंट इट मतलब -1 करते रहा तो पहले इट प्रिंट्स आउट 5 उसके बाद डिक्रीमेंट हुआ उसके बाद डिक्रीमेंट 3 2 1 देन इट स्टॉप्स डिक्रीमेंट हुआ उन्हें चेक लाइक एट द वेरी लास्ट लूप उन्हें डिक्रीमेंट हुआ टू 0 एंड इट चेक की आई इज ग्रेटर देन 0 और नॉट 0 इज नॉट ग्रेटर देन 0 अगर अपन 0 को यहाँ पर कंडीशन ग्रेटर देन इक्वल्स टू रखते थे तो इट वुड आल्सो प्रिंट 0 0 भी प्रिंट होता था क्योंकि कंडीशन वाज आल्सो दैट की 0 भी रहा तो प्रिंट करो सो द पॉइंट इज अगर ये कंडीशन अपन कुछ भी फॉल्स भी रख दिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्रेटर देन 6, अब यहाँ पर 5 है, ये कंडीशन फॉल्स हो रही कैसा भी, तो इट विल पहले एग्जीक्यूट दिस ब्लॉक ऑफ कोड देन चेक द कंडीशन। पहले प्रिंट कर दिया, आई प्रिंट हो गया, देन इट चेक द कंडीशन कि आई इज नॉट इक्वल्स टू 6, आई इज नॉट ग्रेटर देन 6। देन अगर कंडीशन ट्रू नहीं है इसलिए उन्हें एग्जिट कर दिया लूप। अभी गुड विथ डू वाइल लूप। ओनली क्या बोलते फंक्शंस इज लेफ्ट, so like there's not much difference right between while and do while cause they both will give same. Can you mention differences? While इसमें डिफरेंस इतना ही है कि ये while का कंडीशन जो है ना, यहाँ से कट होके यहाँ पे आ जाता, खत्म। उन्हें पहले चेक करता, देन एग्जीक्यूट करता ब्लॉक ऑफ कोड। यहाँ पर बिकॉज द कंडीशन इज नॉट ट्रू प्रिंट ही नहीं करता, कुछ भी प्रिंट ही नहीं होता। मगर डू वाइल लूप में क्या होता, डू वाइल लूप में पहले एग्जीक्यूट कर देता, उन्हें पहले एग्जीक्यूट कर देता, उसके बाद कंडीशन चेक करता। तो पहले एग्जीक्यूट हो गया, प्रिंट हो गया यहाँ पर आई इज इक्वल्स टू 5, देन चेक द कंडीशन कि आई ग्रेटर देन 6, नो इट्स नॉट, एग्जीक्यूट हो जाता, वहाँ पे एग्जिट हो जाता कोड। उसके बाद विल गो टू फंक्शंस, बहुत जल्दी जल्दी करेंगे, टाइम नहीं है अभी अपने पास। ओके, वी हैव प्रिंट जस्ट अ मिनट विथ, ओके। तो फंक्शंस का बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट क्या रहता, फॉर एग्जांपल if I want to print high for multiple times, like हाई नहीं, कुछ अलग एग्जाम, बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट पहले समझा देता हूँ। फंक्शंस कैसा रहता, यू डिफाइन अ ब्लॉक ऑफ कोड एंड कैन एग्जीक्यूट इट वेर एवर यू वांट एंड वेन एवर यू वांट। तो यहाँ पर एक फंक्शन है नेम्ड ग्रीट, यहाँ पर स्क्रोल ब्रैकेट, सॉरी brackets, and then we have the code described in the loop, described in the function, which is print high. It just prints high, and this is called function initialization। फंक्शन को इनिशियलाइज कर रहे हैं अपन, यहाँ पर खाली एक ब्लॉक ऑफ कोड लिख देते, एंड यू कैन यूज इट वेन एवर यू वॉन्ट एंड वेर एवर यू वॉन्ट। अब अपन यहाँ पर उसको कॉल कर रहे, दिस इज कॉल्ड फंक्शन कॉल। फंक्शन को कॉल कर रहे टू एग्जीक्यूट वॉट एवर कोड इज डिस्क्राइब्ड इन दैट फंक्शन। ठीक है, अब मैं यहाँ पर एग्जीक्यूट करा, देन द कंट्रोल गेट्स इनटू दिस मेन and it sees that a function is being called, which is greet greet function को जाता है इन्हें and checks whatever code is described in the greet function and prints hi. यहाँ पर इस ये फंक्शन में क्या कोड डिस्क्राइब है टू प्रिंट हाई, सो इट जस्ट प्रिंट्स हाई. उसके बाद वी हैव पैरामीटर्स. फंक्शंस को पैरामीटर्स भी पास करते. पैरामीटर्स मतलब वैल्यूज पास कर सकते टू गेट सम वैल्यूज. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल वी विल अंडरस्टैंड दिस विथ एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एडिशन फंक्शन. मतलब उन्हें दो नंबर्स को ऐड करता. इंट ए इंट बी. ठीक है. रिटर्न ए प्लस बी. तो ये ऐड फंक्शन है. ऐड फंक्शन में will pass two values that needs to be added, 12 plus 5. So instead of adding again and again in this way कि अपन int add 12 plus 5 and sorry int a is equals to 12, int b is equals to 5. यहाँ पर a पास कर देंगे, यहाँ पर b पास कर देंगे. Okay, a plus b. इंस्टेड ऑफ डूइंग क्या बोलते ये एडिंग दिस मैनुअली. यहाँ पर ऐड मैनुअली ऐड करने से अच्छा व्हाट वी कैन डू इज वी कैन पास दिस वैल्यूज टू अ फंक्शन व्हिच रिटर्न्स द एडिशन ऑफ दोस टू नंबर्स. यहाँ पर अपन ए एंड बी पास कर रहे ये फंक्शन को. एंड ये वैल्यूज ये फंक्शन को पास हुए बाद इट टेक्स दैट इनपुट एंड रिटर्न a plus b. And when the value is written we can store that in a value in a variable like int add int sum is equals to that returned value and we can print that sum. Okay. And when we execute this यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा फंक्शन ये मेन में कंट्रोल जा रहा. इट चेक्स द वेरिएबल इंट ए इंट बी विच इज 15 एंड 5. उसके बाद ये फंक्शन कॉल हो रहा जिसमें ए और बी की वैल्यू पास हो रही. ए इज 15 एंड बी इज 5. यहाँ पर फंक्शन कॉल होते कि इट गोज टू दिस फंक्शन. कंट्रोल सीधा यहाँ पर चल जाता. फ्लो कंट्रोल फ्लो सीधा यहाँ पर चल जाता. देन यूजिंग दोस वैल्यूज जो पास करे अपन ए एंड बी इट रिटर्न्स द वॉट एवर ऑपरेशन वी परफॉर्म्ड ऑन दोस वैल्यूज. तो उन्हें ए प्लस बी की वैल्यू रिटर्न कर देता. वो रिटर्न वैल्यू will be stored in some variable. Then that some variable is printed here which gives us 20 print हो रहा. For example if we want to do let's say subtraction. ठीक है. उन्हें subtract करके 10 प्रिंट करता. सी 10. तो फंक्शंस का बेसिकली कॉन्सेप्ट क्या रहता instead of writing code again and again you can just you like describe it once and use it whenever and wherever you want. अब मैं कहाँ भी यूज कर सकता हूँ ये फंक्शन. खाली वैल्यू पास करना एंड देन कॉल द फंक्शन एंड इट विल डज इट इट विल डू इट क्या बोलते जो भी अपन लॉजिक लिखे वो फंक्शन में. दिस वाज द वेरी बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट. फंक्शंस और भी कॉम्प्लेक्स लॉजिक्स के लिए यूज होते. एंड to make like to avoid programmers write same code again and again we use functions. तो basically वो code अपन बार बार यूज कर सकते हैं without writing that block of code from scratch. इतना ही है ना कॉन्सेप्ट. Yeah, I think that was the end of the session. If you have any questions, please do ask. कहाँ गया रे भाई? हाँ. So like okay, can you share all these programs on WhatsApp after the session, please, without push full screen? Share the PDF as app. Sure, sure. Do you have any questions related to any of the topics that were explained today? No questions? No. Yeah, the session is ended. If you don't have any questions, you can leave. Okay. Uh, so I'll just take you through it very quickly. So bitwise operators helps you to perform operations at bits level. मतलब पहले it converts the numbers into bits. ये 5 is represented as 0101 in bits and 3 is represented as 0011 in bits. ठीक है, ये machine level language है. At the end, every value, characters, numbers, strings, anything and everything is converted into zeros and ones at the end. तो ये representation, this is the bit representation of 5. This is the bits representation of 3. So bitwise operator, what it does is it checks if both the bits are 1. Then in a basically column wise calculate कर रहा. If both the bits are 1, then it gives out 1. If both the bits are not 1, 0 1 रहा, different रहे, 0 0 रहा, so it will just print out 0. यहाँ पर है bitwise operator का value. तो यहाँ पर if you see 1 1 है इसलिए 1 आ रहा. यहाँ पर 1 1 नहीं है, 0 1 है इसलिए 0 दे रहा. बोथ द डिजिट्स हैज टू बी 1. यहाँ पर 1 0 है फिर से 0 एंड यहाँ पर 0 0 है फिर से 0. तो बेसिकली ये कॉलम वाइज कैलकुलेट कर रहा. 1 1 रहा तो इट प्रिंट्स आउट 1. 1 0 1 रहा तो भी 0 1 0 0 0 0 0. 1 रहना दोनों भी. एंड एक्सओर ऑपरेटर में if any of the if any of the digits is 1, sorry, or operator में if any of the digits is 1, उन्हें 1 प्रिंट करता. 1 1 रहा 1 प्रिंट करा बिकॉज एटलीस्ट 1 तो भी दोनों भी 1 है. उसमें एटलीस्ट कोई एक डिजिट तो भी 1 रहना. यहाँ पर 0 1 है तो वी हैव द आंसर 1. उसके बाद थर्ड पोजीशन पे गए तो एक 1 है एक 0 है. बिकॉज 1 हैज क्या बोलते एक तो भी डिजिट 1 रहना तो ही उन्हें 1 प्रिंट करता. तो इसका भी वैल्यू 1 आता थर्ड पोजीशन पे. एट द लास्ट वी हैव बोथ जीरोस इसलिए उन्हें 0 ही प्रिंट करता. देन द थर्ड वन इज एक्सॉर. एक्सॉर में क्या रहता. एक्सॉर सेज दैट if bits are different it prints out 1, then it prints out 0. यहाँ पर 1 1 है इसलिए 0 आ रहा क्योंकि दोनों बिट्स सेम है. यहाँ पर 0 1 है डिफरेंट है इसलिए 1 प्रिंट कर रहा. यहाँ पर 1 0 है डिफरेंट है इसलिए 1 प्रिंट कर रहा. then हाँ, तो दिस वाज द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एक्सऑर. दोनों डिफरेंट रहे तो ही वन प्रिंट करता. यहाँ पर दोनों सेम जीरो है, यहाँ पर जीरो प्रिंट कर रहा. या दैट वाज बिटवाइज ऑपरेटर्स. वही है कौन. कंपोजर कौन है?